Hi, my name is Ryan Harper. Let me make sure this camera's on real quick. Yep. My name is Ryan Harper, and what I'm about to do is to share my testimony finally over the last 4.5 years, basically, and what took place, the stories behind stuff. This is my channel just for TIs, for my TI stuff. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to start sharing my testimony broken up in different videos. I have evidence. I have different things supporting my claims. And I've waited a long time to come forth with this stuff, to put it out there. I've did thousands of hours of research. I got a chance to talk to Dr. Duncan, Robert Duncan, before he passed away. I talked to Roy on Targeted Individuals, the United channel. He's amazing. And I've had an opportunity to, what I did was, before I actually came out publicly and shared my nightmare of a testimony and my story, I waited a long time. I did a bunch of research. I had to make sure that, I wasn't. First off, the first thing you think of when you think of this targeting stuff is, I guess a skeptic would say that they're mentally ill. Well, I had to make sure I wasn't mentally ill. That's a long story, because at first, the first thing that happens when all this crazy stuff is going on is you end up in a psychiatric ward. A normal person would think that. Well, I've been to, I don't even know how many psychiatrists now, and they all have tested me, and I'm completely fine. And I have verification of that over and over, actually, multiple times. And then, it's gotten so crazy and bizarre that I felt at this point, there's no other way for them to stop, because that's all I want. I don't want people to know who I am. I don't want to be known for this. To be quite frank, it's just a nightmare for me. It's horrible. But it's gotten to the point to where I just want them to stop, right? And they won't. And it's only gotten worse as time's progressed. I will give you a little backstory on me. I'm 41 years old. I'm a white male living in Missouri, the middle of the Bible Belt. I'm a Christian man. I had a family. I was married. I'm well known in my community, I guess. I'm a barber. I have a, quote unquote normal life and a normal background. I've had things that have happened to me, I guess, since, that are not normal. And when it all first happens, you don't know what's going on. And that's why it took a long time I've wanted to share my testimony, and I thought, well, maybe it'll stop. The targeting will stop. And what I'm about to share with you throughout this stuff, and I'll also show evidence and stuff like that, is that it didn't stop. It's only progressively gotten worse. After my divorce, I bought a trailer, and I moved into my trailer by myself. I still have half 50-50 custody of my son, and since I've lived and moved by myself, I found out that their tactics of what they were doing originally was to split my family up, was to cause my divorce and to make me seem crazy. When I'm saying I'm hearing voices, the V2K, I'm being followed by these people, yada, 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 and ultimately, it led to my divorce. And what they were doing is, it's a tactic that they use. And what they do is they try to separate you as an individual from your family, from your friends, from your community. So that way, they can run these tests on you, harass you. They study your brain, and I'll get into everything that they've done with me. But I've spent, during this 4 years, I've spent literally thousands of hours of doing research. I think, I don't know if I've said this yet, but I had the privilege of talking to Dr. Robert Duncan before he passed away. I dove into this stuff to get a better understanding because I knew I wasn't crazy. And then when I had psychiatrists and psychologists and therapists, all three, tell me that I'm not crazy. I have ADHD, but that's neither here nor there. Then you start to wonder and you realize it's real. And you search for high and low for evidence. And it's taken me a long time to get evidence. And the only reason why I do have evidence is because I studied. I found out how to pick the evidence up. And you can see some of that on my channel. And when they started, they've gradually escalated over 4 years. And I'm going to take everybody through the process of what they did to me, of what they do. And I think it's a general thing that they do, like a template of what they do when they find a target. Okay. It's gradually gotten to, though, is now it's graduated to they use microwave weapons on me. No joke. And I will pass a lie detector test. My face right now is red. This is from, and I have evidence on my channel. This is all from them using it. And we'll get into that and what's going on and everything. But I want to go back to the original when this all started. So, like I said, I'm a barber. I was married. I had 2 stepchildren and 1 biological, quote unquote, decent life. We had property. We had our own business, the barbershop and salon. My name and reputation was great. But what happened was, out of nowhere, and I still remember, my marriage was kind of rocky at certain points. It was just inner things, our relationship and stuff like that. And I started to isolate. I drank. I wasn't an alcoholic by any means, but I would drink. And I just started to, it's just this weird sensation. I can't describe it really. I just felt different than I had the rest of my life all of a sudden. Little things would happen. I would feel like a thought wasn't mine. Initially, I just felt off. I felt like something was different. That's when I started to hear voices. And initially, when I started to hear them, it was, you automatically play it off and you're looking for, like, where's that voice coming from? Okay, if you're sane. Now, there are people with schizophrenia. I don't want to downplay that. There's people with real mental illness, but I knew me, I've been alive 40 years. I just didn't get mental illness out of nowhere. But what ended up happening was we were going through a divorce, and so I started to be isolated more. And that's when this voice to skull started to kick in. And I didn't know where it was coming from. I, just like everyone else out there that tries to figure this out, I thought it was witchcraft. I thought it was Satan. I thought it was demons. I had people telling me that I was schizophrenic. I needed meds. I thought it was my neighbors at one time. I got on a couple websites that I think now are fake websites posted by these people. I think these people put out fake media and fake ideas out there, radical ideas, to steer you away from what is actually the truth. And the truth, I'll just go ahead and say it right now, and I know this for a fact. This is a government group. I don't believe it's like the CIA, the FBI, or even like the straight military. I believe it is a special division, super secretive within the government. And what they do is they have technology. I believe it's part military, it's part all of those things, with the brightest and most advanced people. Dr. Robert Duncan worked on the program himself. And what they do is they seek out people, targets like me, and they run every test under the sun to advance their technology. They torture us, they test weapons, they scan our brains, they watch us day in and day out. They do all this stuff. And I know it's hard to believe, but it's really not when you start to realize where the technology is now and what they would have, because they're more advanced, obviously. I mean, we're talking about the people that invented the internet, HARP, all of these are they're 20, 30 years more advanced. But anyways, what they were doing was they were using the voice to skull, and I was hearing these voices, and I thought it was my neighbors for a long time. And I'm going to tell you, this is another these testimonies are going to get long because I want to go into great detail. So, and they used this tactic with a lot of targets when they first started getting voice to skull. So what they did was I was going through my divorce. I got an apartment, right? And when it first started, I was hearing different kinds of voices. Okay, I was hearing what sounded like a Spanish man. I was hearing what sounded like a older lady. Different descriptive voices, right? But then I got to a point where when I moved into this apartment, when we were going through our divorce, trying to work our marriage out, I would hear a young man and a young woman, which just so happened to match the voices of my next door neighbors. Now, those two voices have clicked in and have never went away. It's just them two now. It's been those two specific voices for 4 years now. But mind you, in the beginning, it was a bunch of different ones. But because my brain assumed that it was those two, they locked in and just use those now. They can switch the voices at any time. That's the technology they have. But that's how they communicate with me now. Still do it to this day. Before I was getting ready to film this, they were running their mouth, making threats and doing all this. But it's time. It's time to, because this has gotten to the point where I can't take this. The way they're doing it now, it's not that I can't take it, because I'm going to survive. I'm going to get through it. But I'm done being treated this way, if that makes sense. I'm done being manipulated, tortured, just treated like crap. I'm done with it. I deserve more, and I deserve my freedom. So I started to hear those voices. Let me make sure the camera's still on. Yep. I started to hear those voices. And when, let's see here. I would complain about them. I thought other people could hear them. I confronted my next door neighbors. And all of this stuff, when you're trying to figure it out, it ends you up in a mental institution. It ends up, everyone thinks you're crazy. Everyone thinks you're on drugs. There's every explanation but that, because it's not common. Why would they do this? Well, the reason why they do it is while they're using voice to skull, and this is my personal opinion and what I've come to figure out, they use the voice to skull to trigger certain speech patterns, to trigger memories, to trigger thoughts, and they're scanning your brain this entire time. They want a full, complete scan of your brain. They've said stuff to me in the past month that was stuff that was originally brought up like 4 years ago. So they've recorded, and it is getting recorded somewhere in this supercomputer supposedly that they have. And I believe that's what they have. I believe they have an AI supercomputer that is so far advanced, it's hard to wrap your mind around. I would say, so if you ever look at like the space sci-fi movies, and they were talking to like their ship, and they're like, hey, beam me down, or lock in on this. That's the kind of AI they have. I really believe that. It is super advanced. It's connected to all these satellites that they have. That's real. And the stuff that they do. But we'll get into that. But I wanted to just share the brief testimony first of this. So I went through my spill. We got a divorce. Ended up getting a divorce because she thought I was possessed by a demon. I did too for a long time. And I would go through brief periods of time where they would stop. I remember I went to I decided I was going to go live with the community of guys. And I went to like this men's Christian program, because I didn't want to be isolated anymore, because at the time I thought I was going crazy, and I wasn't. So I went there and it stopped. But as soon as I moved out, it started again. And let me make sure this is still on. Yep. Okay. So, but it would start again. And then, I battled this for, I don't know, 1 or 2 years. And then it started to get bad all of a sudden. Out of nowhere, it started to become so overwhelming that I could not concentrate. I remember I got the job of my lifetime. Okay. I became a manager at Highland Dairy in Springfield, Missouri. I was making bukus of money, over $100,000 a year. I was getting trained. This is so crazy they do this stuff. It makes me so angry. I was getting trained by some elderly gentlemen that had been there for a long time. They were training me on all the machines really quickly, so I had to pick it up super fast because I was going to be in charge of this stuff like within no time. So as I'm getting trained, right hand to God, this happened. As I'm getting trained and the guy's talking to me, they're overriding him, the actual loudness of it. And we'll get, if anybody has any questions about how they actually do voice to skull and stuff, I can tell you exactly how they do it. It's a lot. It's easy to describe the technologies. Obviously, I couldn't reproduce it myself, but I understand how it works. But anyways, they would override. The guy would be telling me to do something, and then they would start overriding it. Then that's when they crossed the line right after this, because I would always go to God and Christ in prayer, right? I would start to pray or read my Bible in the morning, and they would start to interrupt me. They would put Jesus down. They would say there's no God. That's when I realized how corrupt and evil this whole program really is. They will do absolutely any and everything they want to do. Whatever their reason is, they want to do it, they will do it, and they will take it. Every time I'd go to pray, they'd interrupt me. I'd be like, "Dear God," and they'd start talking. And it got so frustrating, I broke down. And this is the one and only time I was suicidal. And I was suicidal because of them being overwhelming and taking God away from me, right? And looking back, I think they were running a test on me to see what I would do. So I remember I called my grandma, and I said, I can't deal with this anymore. I can't take it. The voices aren't going away. I was at the time, because it had started back. I went to a psychiatrist, got on psychiatric meds. None of them worked, by the way. None of them, it still continued. So if I was mentally ill, let's just say I was, but I'm not, I would have got some kind of relief. And it never went away. And they made that clear and evident that they were letting me know that the medication was not going to work. So this is something when I realized it was a government program. And what I want to do is, if this channel progresses and gets popular, what I want to do is I want to go take a FBI lie detector test and verify all this stuff, because I'll pass with flying colors. I put that, I'm a Christian man, I love Jesus, I put that on my soul, that all this stuff is true. Everything I'm saying is absolutely true. So I started to think, and this is when I also, because the voices were like talking to me, but they weren't responding to my thoughts initially. Then at this point, they started to respond to my thoughts, so I realized they were listening, they're deciphering what I'm thinking. They're listening to my thoughts. And this is only done by one way. It's done by satellite. But they can definitely decode your thoughts. And side note on supposedly how they do this is they found out the brain is like a battery, and every thought, every action, response produces a certain kind of energy response to it. And they can decipher that now, and that's how advanced it is. And they can actually hear your thoughts and listen to your thoughts and decode them. And then, within lightning speed, have this voice to skull, this voice respond to them thoughts. So the only way that's possible is by getting computed into a supercomputer and then via satellite coming back. But it's lightning fast. This is real technology. They call it synthetic telepathy. It's absolutely real, right hand of God. Anyways, so I'm on the verge of, I'm thinking about suicide, right? And I remember I was just going to swallow all my psych meds, everything I could do. I was going to drink a bunch and then hopefully die, right? And it could have been. It would have been like a toxic, at the very least, it would have done some damage. And I thought for sure I was set on it was going to kill me. So because I'm thinking and knowing that I'm going to go do this, I believe they started to pick up on that. And so at that time, I'm texting my grandma, right? All of my apps in my phone start to shut down. I'm typing. I still remember this like it's yesterday. I'm typing a message to my grandma. The typing on it, like say I'm spelling what, it would go WH, and here I'm hitting ATTT, and it won't finish what. I would type a sentence and it would look all screwed up. I would type it and it wouldn't make any sense, and she's like, "What are you talking about?" She didn't understand because it was like gibberish. I would exit out of it, turn my phone off, turn it on. All of a sudden, where all of my apps are on my home screen are all out throughout my phone. Most of them not working. Someone immediately hacked my phone like that. Immediately. Anyways, it goes on for about 2 or 3 hours. I started to drink. I started to panic, thinking I couldn't contact anyone. Mind you, I'm at home by myself, and at that time, I get ready to go grab my bottle of pills, right? At that time, I receive a message saying, "Do not do it. We will put your phone back. Do not kill yourself. Everything's going to be okay." I look at it. I go to try to take a screenshot. My phone shuts off. Then it reboots. And then everything's back to normal. And for about 4 or 5 months, everything stopped. That right there let me know that this was some kind of government group. Briefly after that, and I'll get into more detail in these other videos, but I don't want to make this too long. This is just an initial deal of me introducing myself and telling what's going on. But shortly after that, I moved to the city, and that's when the gang stalking started. I went through a period of time where that happened. I basically have dealt with this on and off. And I got the gang stalking. I moved out to the country where I am now, and the gang stalking stopped. They can't do that stuff out here because the people, they stick out like a sore thumb. Gang stalking does not really exist in little bitty small towns. It just doesn't, because we know everybody. They'll stick out. We know everybody who's supposed to be here, and if they're not, we're gonna check them out. And that's the benefit of living in a small town. So if you're somebody that's gang stalked and it's that bad, I suggest you move out to like a really small town where everybody knows everybody, and I believe it stops it. But so the gang stalking stopped, right? And by this time, the voice to skull was like so fast and so instant that I knew they had my brain mapped out. But this is what ultimately led to me sharing this stuff and everything else. So I move into a trailer. Hold on one second. I'm still vaping. I get excited and just anxious when I talk about this stuff because I hate it that much. I really do. I can't stand that this is even a part of my life. But what ends up happening is I move into this trailer, and that's when I started to get the symptoms that so stuff was happening that I couldn't explain. So that all of a sudden my ears would pop. The hair on my arms would start to stick up. I'd get goosebumps everywhere. I'd get real hot. It's hard to, it sounds like it almost feels like the initial, when it first happens to you, it's like your heartbeat, but you can feel your heartbeat everywhere all over your body, if that makes sense. So imagine like running really fast and then stopping, and your heart's going doo, doo, doo. It's like that, but I can feel my heartbeat. When they're hitting me with the microwave, I can feel my heartbeat everywhere all over my body. Okay, it's the Havana syndrome. It's exactly what they were testing on me. And it's right around that time when you heard about all these people. It was shortly after that, but when it became kind of popular, the Havana syndrome and what happened to those people in Havana and stuff, this is when it started. I didn't know what it was initially. It was hard for me to wrap my mind around it. But that stuff, it would go on, then it would stop, it would go on. I would complain about it. I'd tell people they think I'm crazy. But here lately, and I want to just touch on this before I get off, and we're going to go back further into, I'm going to make several videos, but this is my first initial one. What they've been doing lately, and I honestly, I don't fear for my life, because I think what they do is they bring you to the absolute limit, and then they'll stop. They're not just going to commit cold-blooded murder. But I will say this: long-term effects. I believe this stuff causes cancer. I believe it's causing my eyes to go bad now right away. But anyways, what they've been doing here lately is what started off as just like the Havana syndrome stuff has gotten so bad that these little things that they do, and the reason why I'm sharing my testimony, I'll be sitting in my living room and I will feel what has to be some kind of laser or something. I can feel it moving all over my body and it itches, and so I'll itch it. And all of a sudden my face, which now is red, and I have other stuff showing this, will start to get beet red. I'll start to sweat. I will feel heat on the top of my head, heating up. And it hurts. It hurts really bad. They started shocking me, which it's not actually what I've decoded is it's not actually them shocking me. They're using some kind of direct energy weapon, and what they'll do is, so say I'm falling asleep, I'll fall asleep like this, and all of a sudden my neck will go boom like this and pop, or my hand will twitch as I'm falling asleep, and they'll try to keep me up using this. I'll start to drift off at night when I'm laying down, and they'll shock me like this, so I raise right back up. They're trying to get me excited and mad and upset, and do this sleep deprivation thing where they only allow me to sleep a couple hours and then wake me up. They'll wake me up in the middle of the night, several times in the middle of the night. I'm assuming they're shocking me. I have that on video too. I've picked up this signal using a EMF detector. You can see the signal clear as day. My evidence differs from a lot of people's because mine's indisputable. I will shut off all of the power to my home when these attacks are going on. I will shut off all the power to my home and still pick up this signal. There's nothing around my home. I live in the country. When I shut the power off, including Wi-Fi and everything, there's no energy in my home, and yet I'm still picking up this signal clear as day. It's a microwave signal. It's picked up on the RF detector. And you can see the evidence of what's going on. For instance, they leave this stuff on to me, and like I said, why I'm sharing my testimony is because it's overwhelming now. I can't function hardly. They're trying to, when people complain about them, getting them fired from jobs and stuff, they're not saying they're brainwashing them to getting them fired, but they make them incapable of working. Right now, they're making me incapable. If you look up Havana syndrome, one of the side effects that I have all the time is I can't think. My head's so foggy, my head hurts all the time. I go through bottles of Excedrin. Every day I take about 12 Excedrin. My head hurts so bad. All I am is tired. It drains all my energy. I can't think. My head's really cloudy. My memory's foggy because I'm getting microwave radiation poisoning. But what I was talking about is they will, and there I go right there. I can feel it right now as I'm speaking, happening. But, anyways, what they'll do, and they will continue to do that. They will, I lost my train of thought there. They were starting to mess with me right there. But what they'll do is it's progressively gotten worse. Like I said, I was going to show some evidence that I also have on my page. The back of my ears. This shows you that it is a microwave weapon, and basically what it does. Imagine like getting really bad sunburn, but it's worse than a sunburn. But imagine that, right? So anytime you have something blocking something, you don't have anything. Well, initially, because I don't want to go in and sound like a crazy person, I go in and I saw a dermatologist and I said, hey, they said, well, maybe it's a rash. And she says, well, if it was a rash, why is it not on the back of your skin behind your ear? So on my ear, it's all burnt right here, right? Everything's burnt. But if you lift up my ear, behind here, it's not burnt. That's because it's a direct energy weapon. This part was blocking the skin underneath it. A rash would affect all of it, right? It would affect all of the skin. You can see literally the outline of my ear right here behind here because of what it is. So anyways, I have all of that evidence. I'm going to get into further detail. I want to kind of wrap this up. But they've that one, all I've wanted to do, I didn't want to expose them. I didn't want to do anything. I just wanted my freedom. I wanted to be left alone. I want to be a good father to my kids. I want to hold on to a job, be a productive citizen. I want to worship God. I want to pray and not be interrupted. I want to pray to Jesus and listen to a sermon at church and not be interrupted, or them running their mouth, this voice to skull running their mouth. And a lot of this stuff is AI attack, but ultimately it's a human being allowing this stuff to take place. You know, like those voices are not an actual person. It's a automated AI talking to you, but there's someone that's letting that program run. They know, I know they've mapped out my brain. They listen to my thoughts. And so because of that, they know who I am. And I'm here to tell you, like, I try to very rarely sin. I love the world. I love people. I love Jesus. They are not stopping, and they are affecting my health. I just started puking up blood here recently. I'm losing my hair in the back of it from this stuff. These microwave weapons are no joke. They'll target my chest, and I will feel like this pain right here, and I'll get clenched down, and as soon as I do that, they'll shock my arm. I have all this on video footage. It's getting absolute crazy, and they have no regard for kindness, or just, you think with all the stuff that they cause, like my divorce, people thinking I'm crazy, me losing my business, yada yada yada, you think with all that they would have the just audacity to stop, like the kindness to stop. Like, well, he's suffered enough. We actually listen to his thoughts. We know he's a good man. We know he just wants to be a good father and be productive. We'll stop. They don't. They've taken advantage of every situation they can get. To me, and I say this lightly, they're scumbags. I have no respect for anyone who would ever be associated with this program and doing this to people. It's absolutely wrong. I've never given them my okay to do any of this. They've taken and they've destroyed. And what they're doing now is they are threatening my health. Like I said, I'm puking up blood. I'm seeing all these doctors now. I'm recording all of this evidence. You can see it on my channel. No one can explain what's going on. And there's a reason. I've had experts come over. I've had the electric company come out. Everybody, any kind of rational explanation you can think of, I've went through. And it cannot be explained because that's what's happening. So I'm going to start uploading more. We'll get more into my testimony. As I get followers, I will answer questions and help people out. But I hope you guys have a good day. My name is Ryan, and this is my first video. Bye.